Hello, and welcome to episode number 14 and session 2 of Living Single with Jamila S. Maxey. So, today on the Marriage Coach podcast, we are going to be discussing the ABCs of singleness. To all our Marriage Coach podcast listeners, we'd like to let you know that every fourth Tuesday, you can join us right here for a Living Single session with Jamila S. Maxey.
To a single person
Mm-hmm.
and of any age, and she's like, enjoy your singleness.
Yes.
And
See?
I was
Yes.
like, you hear that so much, but I think it goes back to the old adage that the grass is not greener on the other side. But see, I flipped it a little bit. The grass may be greener, but it takes a whole bunch of, the water bill is higher,
Water
and it
bill is
takes a
higher.
whole bunch of manure to make
Yeah.
it green.
Yep.
So one of the things I used to have up in my office was, I will bloom where I was planted. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the same concept applies to singleness, because I think I said it last time that if you strip away the adjective of married or unmarried, the noun after that is life. Is
Mm-hmm.
that you want to enjoy your life, you want to be present. So whether you're married or you single, you want to enjoy that life and not just always be in the future. Like one of the things that I did a couple of years ago, I'm future oriented. So
Mm-hmm.
I was always thinking about the future, the future, the future, which is not a bad thing, but too much of something can be in excess, and it can be turn out to be a bad thing. So when I kept thinking future, 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 I was missing out on the present. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're presently
Yes.
unmarried, if you're presently find yourself in a single state, it's not the end of the world. It's a great opportunity for you to enjoy life. And like
Absolutely.
you said, get your healing, but it's like travel, experience new things, because marriage will change your whole context of life.
Yeah.
So, and I hadn't been married, but I could just see, I don't have to be married to see, okay,
But it does. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
friends that go through that, and it's like your time commitments are different, your focus is different. So you do want to take advantage of your singleness in that, you want to heal, you want to grow, you want to make sure that you're whole and you're healthy, because then you go whole and healthy into a marriage or a relationship.
Absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
think it's spot on to where it's the encouragement of really enjoy your life, because I'm gonna let you into a little secret. I used to hate when churches had single ministries. I couldn't stand them because it was like there was so much talk about marriage, but I went into it with the mindset of, I need to know how to live this life in my current state, single, as being a
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
single
Absolutely.
person.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Tell me, let's talk about some of the temptations. Let's talk about some of the challenges.
The
Let's talk
real
about
stuff.
some of
Yeah.
the joys. And it's not all, it's like it turned out to be marriage prep 101, which is
Yes.
in itself good, but it's like there's a other part of my life. Like I don't want to be consumed with marriage as a single person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And see, the way I think about it, if and we don't currently have a single ministry, we don't have married ministry. But if I think about that in regards to our ministry, I would I'm not a single, so I wouldn't be leading it, but I would be, helping the person that's leading it to understand that to me, what you just said isn't what's important to me. And that's why I thought it was important for us to do a podcast about it, because I think it's necessary for people to enjoy the stage of life that they're in. And if you enjoy the stage of life that you're in,
Yeah.
and what I feel that a ministry is supposed to do is supposed to, for a singles ministry is supposed to minister to you in regards to your single life. Yes, I mean, if you desire, because there are some people that don't desire to be married. They okay. Then there's other people that desire to be married. So if you desire to be married, then that's great. There will be a portion of the ministry that will help you with that. And then that'll be like when you have something where there's breakout sessions, and then the single can choose what they want to. Like, okay, I want to be in marriage prep 101 instead of this is all that we're ever talking about. Because I think that same thing is what makes people feel like for a lack of a better words, like you somehow broken if you're not married. And we've heard that for years. You've heard it in movies, you heard people saying it. You such and such age and you ain't married yet. You
Yeah.
ain't been married
It's
yet.
like a
It,
disease.
yeah, it's like it's the same thing with let a person enjoy where they are. And then when that comes, they're ready for it, they're prepared for it, and they can enjoy that because you said something that we know is true because we're married. We're married for a long time. Marriage is different. Your life is not the same. A single can get up and go wherever they want to go and do what they want to do. When he makes a choice or a decision, it affects me.
Your
When I make
life
a
is
choice,
not your own.
when
Yeah.
I make a choice or a decision, it affects him.
Yeah.
So you can't just say like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to do this."
Yeah.
No. If we even when we're talking about vacation, we plan that together. We're talking about trips, we plan that together. I mean, yeah, you can have a trip with the guys or the girls or whatever. Women from church.
I
He
mean, even
chip
think
in.
about that. I mean, if she was to plan a trip or vacation, I mean, she actually had more choices than we have.
Yeah,
We
we have to
we have
collaborate.
to collaborate. Yeah. We have to,
We got to collaborate
yeah.
and decide on where we want to go that's going to fit both of us.
Yeah.
We can't go on a golfing excursion because that ain't my thing.
Yeah.
He not going to want to he might take the spa, but he ain't going to want to go on a shopping trip. That's not going to work for
Yeah.
him. So I think it's very, very important us as human beings to learn to embrace the stage of life where we are.
I love
You
that.
said bloom where
I
you're
love
planted,
that.
but I think it's great as a human being to embrace where you are,
Yeah.
embrace where you are, and learn from it, grow
Yeah.
in that space where you are, grow in that space, work on, even in every space, your number one thing is to work on yourself, be the best version of yourself, be comfortable with yourself, but I think that the single has an advantage that a married person doesn't have, because you can say you going on sabbatical and you just doing this holistic thing or whatever for 2 or 3 weeks. But when you're married, there's responsibilities there.
Yeah.
There's another person that's like, hey, how long you gonna be doing this?
Yeah. Right.
And if you have kids and you married,
A
then
whole nother
now
ball
that's a
game. Yeah.
whole nother ball
Yeah.
game. So, and a lot of times we're not prepared for that. And so even when you're in your 20s, like I said, for us, nobody sits you down and talk to you about all that. The idea is you go to school, you graduate, you either go for a job or a skill, or you go to college so that you can get a good job, and then you need to get married,
Yeah.
and then you need to have kids, and then you need to do it this order,
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily how it works for everybody, because some people are now thrust into marriage and now you have kids and this and that,
Right.
and 30 years down the line you realize that you never got to do anything that you wanted to do.
One of the fallacies that I've noticed is that we treat all single people the same. And it's just like we're not all the same. Like you were saying, you have the I don't ever want to be married, but secretly I probably do want to be married, but the last
Mhm.
relationship was so bad.
Yeah.
I've seen, I've been in a ministry before to where we had all types of singles who really didn't want to be married because
Yeah.
they were widowed, they were a little bit older, they were like, I'm good,
Absolutely.
it's not God's will for my life to get married again. And it's like, okay, cool. You had singles with kids, singles never married, no kids. It was like
Yeah.
all different types. And things that I appreciated about that ministry is that we will meet together, but then each subgroup of singles would break out. So they would have a Wednesday to where it was just single who have kids, which that's a whole different ball game than someone like me, single with no kids. When I say my time is truly my own, I don't have to share my time with anybody. Well, I share it with God because I love Him. But another physical person, I really don't have obligations to on that level. So, a single with kids, that's whole different. And how they take advantage of their singleness may look slightly different than how I take advantage of singleness. Because
Right.
I like when you say up and move, didn't have to consider. Yeah, when I applied to a PhD program and I applied to one to where you do have to go full time, you have to be in residence. So I up and moved, quit my job, left my life. So I recognize now that if I was married, that would have looked totally different.
Oh
My
yeah.
even about where I wanted to apply to
Mhm.
would have looked totally different. So I'm like, I can appreciate, being single in this phase in life because I had more options in a sense that I could get up and move and not have to worry about my kids having to move in the middle of a school year or changing school districts and losing friends. Well, what about my husband? Can he get a job where I want to go to school at? And
Right,
so it was
right.
considerations that I didn't have.
That's awesome.
Right.
That's
And so
interesting.
yeah, so you were just talking and I'm thinking about two things. So we're talking about the ABCs of singleness, right? So we have two we've already started with: advantage and appreciation. That's what it was. You said you had to appreciate when you looked back and thought about the fact that you can just decide that, okay, I'm moving from here to there, go full time for my doctorate degree program. And so the two first things I'm thinking about, I'm like, oh wow, when you were talking, I'm thinking about that. Like, okay, that's two right there: advantage and appreciate. So it's the first step in singleness, whatever, whether it's singleness because I'm choosing to be single and I'm focused on one thing right now, or I'm single because of a divorce, or I'm single because of the death of a spouse, or I'm single just because I've been single, or I dated and I've never been married, but I've dated, however it is. And I thought about this as you were talking. There's multiple facets to singleness, and you do have those that don't want to get married for one reason or another, and then you have some people that are just okay with being by themselves, and some of them have been married before, either death of a spouse, divorce. Some of them never been married, and they just to the point where, like, at this age and stage, I'm in my own mode, and I'm used to getting up and going when I want to. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm okay with. So the only thing I kept thinking about as you were talking, just the first two things: to take advantage, take every advantage in your singleness, and then to appreciate your singleness. That's like the foundation. Take every advantage available to you in your singleness, the advantage that you have time to work on you, the advantage that you have time to decide what you want to do. Like, if you were married, you'd have to have a conversation with your husband before: I'm going to get my doctorate, because is that going to work for us? Is this going to work for us? Is the program you want? So it's a lot of things involved in that. So you're taking advantage of your singleness right now. And then the appreciation comes when you realize that I'm able to do this because I'm single. I'm able to make decisions. Where we live, we decide together. Where we move, we decide together. You leave your job, you start a business, you go to school, back to school. All of that has to be agreed upon by two people. So you have to take advantage that you can make those decisions for yourself. You can work on yourself and then appreciate the fact that you can make these decisions in and of yourself and for yourself. And I was just thinking a lot of things, like, some when we got married, we talked about this a little bit before. When we got married, my credit was jacked up, right? But if I knew what I knew now in my singleness, I would have did better with my credit. So in your singleness, you have time to take advantage of making sure that your credit is straight, making sure that you learn all you can learn about finances, making sure you're, doing the work to be whole as a human being. This is again taking advantage of all the time, that the free time that you have to do what you want to do and to do the work on yourself.
Right. And I want to say this. So this is the definition before Jamila, before you go. This is the definition for advantage.
Mhm.
It says in a condition or circumstance that put you in a favorable or
Wow.
superior position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got to start seeing it as a superpower.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that really flips the narrative about what we think about singleness and how our culture approaches singleness. And I love what you said about appreciation, but we need the help of married people and
Married
just
people, yes. Hmm.
because usually, especially when you get to my age in life and you still, I say I'm single, like you said earlier, then what? You still single? And I think two things happen. Well, it makes people think there's something wrong with being single, like singleness is a curse, but singleness is a blessing. And I think that's something that's not really promoted more of,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
that singleness is a blessing. And then I want to use, since we're on A's, I'm going to use an accounting term. Like you were saying, that if you would have known what if you could travel back into time and have that wisdom that you've gained over the years from lived experiences, that you like, man, I need to get my credit together. Is that one of the accounting terms is that you can use this time so that if you desire to be in a marriage, that you go in as an asset and not a liability.
Wow.
Yes. That's
Yes.
awesome.
So that you go in as an asset. Yeah.
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 Appreciate, recognize the full worth of.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
To add that, when you think about
An
going back,
asset, you adding value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's like when something like when you buy that new car, you drive off the lot, it depreciates
Appreciates.
value instantly,
Woo,
but appreciate is that
girl.
they add value. So your singleness, you're adding value to your life during this time. And not saying that you
Yes.
can't appreciate while you're married, but that's a whole different type of appreciation.
Hmm.
But as a singleness, you get to add value to yourself. And I think that is just priceless and it's just absolutely amazing.
But the danger is to get into a marriage and you depreciate.
Wow. Yeah. When you depreciate or if you depreciate them, both of those are
Yeah.
dangerous. Both of those are dangerous.
I mean,
So
just imagine that perspective before you imagine that perspective. So we're talking about appreciation. So if if you're bringing value and you're bringing value, think about what it's doing for the marriage. So now, where I was, now I'm a step. I should be a step up. When I get married, I should be a step up from where I was before I got married.
absolutely.
I should be a step up. I shouldn't be even. I shouldn't be the same because if you're the same,
Both we should be both saying, let me upgrade you. Let me
exactly. I
upgrade
love
you.
it. I love it.
Yeah, both parties upgrading the other party. So when you said asset, what I thought about is as you're taking this time to take advantage of all the things that are available to you as a single, all the work that you can do in and of yourself, to yourself, for yourself, credit, financing, therapy, things of that nature, working through your past and, healing, wholeness,
Yeah.
as you're doing all that. So you're taking advantage of that and then you're appreciating the reason or the ability to take advantage of that, and now you're becoming an asset. You're also increasing assets in your life because as you become better, things around you become better because you're going to be more selective about the friends you choose. You're going to be more selective about the places you go, to things you do, everything. When you get to the point where you realize I'm valuable and I'm working on me to bring value to my next relationship, and you're bringing value to all your relationships, you're gonna want to look at the things that are around you. I mean, listen, a jeweler will not set a perfect diamond into a 14 karat gold plated ring.
No way.
No,
It doesn't make
a
sense.
diamond, a perfect diamond goes into a perfect metal. It goes, everything is hand. When you talk about a perfect diamond, everything that diamond goes in is handcrafted for it.
And it
And it
makes
has to be of
sense.
the same
It
asset
makes
as it,
sense.
because if not, it brings down the value, right?
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, think about this. Think about if you put a valuable diamond and some fake gold. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense to nobody, every listener, every watcher.
That's a
It
waste of
doesn't
time.
even make sense. It does not make sense to put something valuable in something that's not valuable.
Mhm.
Or that's
It
not
doesn't.
that's just like
That's
taking
not of the same
put it
caliber.
in a wood setting. You wouldn't have, you wouldn't take a diamond and make a ring out of wood.
Right.
It's not number one, it's not going to protect and preserve your diamond
Yes.
the
Yes.
same way that a precious metal would. But
Yes.
when we talk about becoming, I see it as, I say this a lot. If I happen to get into a relationship and it didn't go the way I thought, I'm like, my mantra became, I want to be better, not bitter. So I see
Mm.
the dichotomy of, as a single person, you can be bitter because you're single, you're unmarried, and all this stuff, or you can be better and beautiful. And it's like you're gonna attract that. So if I'm bitter, guess what? I'm gonna attract bitter people.
Bitterness.
I'm
Hmm.
holding, I'm coming, I'm in this beautiful stage where I'm appreciating my current state. That's what I'm going to attract to myself, are more beautiful people. Not, and we're not talking about physically,
No.
because somebody can be, gorgeous on the outside, but rotten to the core. We're talking about beautiful in that your attitude, your spirit, and I've learned through the years that comes out. So if you're unhappy in life, you're going to exude that. But if you're enjoying life, you're enjoying your singleness, if you're taking advantage of it, you're going to be beautiful.
I
Yes.
think the worst thing is to realize when you see somebody, first impression, you see beauty. I think it's a shame and it's a waste to see something beautiful, but then when you get to know it,
Yeah.
you find out
It's
it's ugly.
bitter. Wow. And you just went when you said that, I was like, she rope a doping on these B's and these ABCs of because you went becoming, you went beautiful, you went blooming, you talked about bitter, you talked about better. I'm like, we just feeling these whole ABCs. And now all of it is true. We want to make sure that as we are becoming, that we're not allowing ourselves to become bitter, to be better, not bitter. We want ourselves to bloom. While in your singleness, you want yourself to bloom where you are. Because when you bloom, when I think about bloom, a flower is opening up. It's opening up where right
Oh,
where it's planted, it's opening up. And flowers are fragrant when they open up. Some of them let off. We used to have these flowers in the yard that the inside of them would blow off and they would fall and make more flowers. So they're increasing. So you're blooming, you're letting off a fragrance, you're better, you're increasing, your value is continuing to come through. It's like you just went from being a 14 karat gold to 24 karat gold. You just like upgrading, you
let,
upgrading.
let's talk about, let's have fun with that a little bit.
Okay.
Let's have a fun with bloom. I'm gonna start off since I have my thought, and then we're gonna
Okay.
go around the table. So bloom. I mean, one positive thing about something blooming, when the flower blooms, the pollen.
Mhm.
The pollen and the pollen is what allows the flowers around it to bloom.
To
If it
grow.
wasn't for the
Mhm.
pollen inside the flower, nothing else
Pollinate
wouldn't
the other.
pollinate.
Yes.
So that's me. So let's go around.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, I just said about fragrance, and I think that definitely a flower, their beauty shines through when they bloom. When they bloom, because we had, you can have a flower that it's kind of balled up a little bit, and it just looked like something dangling there.
And
But when it opens up, you see the beauty of it. When it opens up, you see the intricateness that God used to create it. You see the magnificent thing that He put on the inside of that flower. You smell it, you see it, there's evidence of it. We have a plant in the back that's grown, it grows kind of like a vine, but the flowers kind of grow cupped like this. And they just look like they just hanging like this. But then as the days go, they all begin to open up. And now you have what looks like a beautiful tree of all these beautiful flowers, and they're this bright, vibrant pink color. So they bring so much beauty to the backyard. So that's what I'm thinking about. As you're blooming where you are and in the season that you are in, your fragrance is being spread, your beauty is being seen, because people can look at you, or people around you can feel that you're comfortable being you, you're okay being you, that you're moving forward, you're being the best version of yourselves. And you're not like, oh Lord, here comes so and so, she finna be talking about, oh my God, she all me and her dogs, all, or he finna be saying all women are this, all. You're not dealing, and you enjoy, people can enjoy the beauty of you just the same way we enjoy the beauty of the flower when it's blooming.
Yeah. And so when I think about blooming, I think about moving in purpose because it's powerful. The flower is doing what the DNA was encoded to do. And it
Wow.
starts with
Yeah, yeah.
one seed, and everything in that seed, that bloom was in that seed. So when you get to the blooming stage, it's gone through stages. It's almost like caterpillar in a metamorphosis.
yeah,
Like the flower didn't start, and I think that's encouraging because we see blooms and we're like, wow, I want to be that bloom. But it went through stages. It was a
Yes.
seed, it was a seedling, and but then, like you said, the flower may be closed and then all of a sudden it's blooming. But I think that's purpose. You're living on that bloom is doing what it was encoded to do.
Yes.
yes,
And
Yes.
I truly believe that our DNA, we were encoded to be beautiful, we were encoded to prosper and,
Yes.
and
Yes.
become all that we're supposed to become.
Absolutely.
the Bible
Absolutely.
said we are beautifully and wonderfully made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the thing, just like with it is, you take we talk about you just talked about the seed. The seed there's nothing beautiful about that. It's just something, some of them are very small. So you take this seed, some of them are small, some of them are brown, some of them almost look like they dead. Like they like this is over with. Am I really supposed to plant this? But then you take it and put it in this dirty place. So it's not in the most beautiful place, but it produces the process, what you just said, the process
Mm.
produces something beautiful. So this is why I feel this going back to the very beginning, why I feel in your singleness, you must take advantage of the process. Because when you skip, think about when you're making something. If you skip part of the process, that cake not gonna come out right. If I skip part of the process when I'm planting flowers, oh, I'm not gonna water it, it'll be fine. Or oh, I don't have to put it in dirt. I can just sit it in the pot and wet it and it'll be fine. No, the sun is gonna scorch it when you wet it and burn it up. So it has to go through the full process. There's plants that need light, some of them need partial light. Most, if you don't put them through the right process, they're not going to produce the beautiful flower you saw in the picture at Home Depot. And so, like you said, God create there's a beautiful picture that God created of each and every one of us before we came here. This picture is of you, who you are, whole, blessed, beautiful, just awesome. All the awesomeness that he put in you. And now you're planted here. You're planted and you're being transplanted in different times and seasons in your life to continue to grow. Because once one space gets too small for you, you have to be moved to another space to grow. Once one space gets too tight for you, you have to be moved to another space to grow. And you just move in one part. The singleness, that's singleness. You move in one part. You're not, I may take the dirt with it, but if I put it in a bigger pot, I got to add more dirt, so you're being moved from that, transplanted somewhere else that's going to grow you even more, that's going to make you even better, even more beautiful. And I think that that's important for us to see. That was great. That was great. In endure and enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a moment for encouragement. So we're going to take this break out to encourage all the
Mhm,
singles. What she said something. She said the seed is not seen; it is buried. So
mhm.
a lot of, I've even felt that way sometimes. Like, well, I feel like I'm not seen. I feel like I'm covered. But could it be that I'm covered in this moment because I'm in the process of becoming? Like it's not time
Yes.
for me to bloom yet.
Yes.
So be okay with not being seen because knowing that it's a process and that at some part of the process, if marriage is part of your purpose, then you're going to
It's
bloom
gonna bloom.
thing. But be encouraged that, it may seem like nobody talks to you or all the wrong people talk to you.
Yeah.
You could just be, you're in that seed process, but don't stop the process. Because one of the things, if you take the seed out the ground and check it every day, and like, seed, well, you didn't come up and you go outside and you dig up the
Dig
dirt and
it
like,
up. Hmm.
doing, it's never gonna go. It's never gonna get to the place to where it blooms. So be encouraged in the season where you may feel like I'm unseen, nothing's happening. But trust me, trust and believe. If you're putting in the work, something is happening. Because if you're
Yes.
watering that seed, the seed is getting the nutrients that it needs. It is growing, and the good thing is that, especially if you're talking about a tree, it's going to take deep roots
Roots.
so that when life comes, with weather comes,
It
it's
can
not going to be.
withstand. Yes, it can withstand.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could talk about boundaries in relationships, like you were saying. I have boundaries. You're not going to call me out my name. That's a boundary set.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
we have things like that. It's not that, oh, I'm trying to be all, but it's like I have boundaries. Like I'm not
Yes.
going to treat me like you were
Hmm.
saying, red, yellow flags, boundaries. But we also have to have time boundaries, because people think just because you're single, you have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I have a full life. Like I have boundaries in my life. No, I don't want to babysit your kids
Yes.
every.
And that I was gonna say that would be in regards to that boundaries, that be alphabets would be in regards to the people around you that know you're single, thinking that you can keep their kids every Friday while they go on date night with their husband, or while they go get their hair done, or the person that think you can run out their errands because you're single. No, we have to have boundaries, in even in your singleness. Boundaries could be, I mean, in for any person, they are great to have, but definitely the single setting boundaries is great for them because it keeps you from being overran. It keeps you from being worn out. It keeps you from being you're full of doing things for other people, but you're missing out on all the other things we were talking about. So sometimes that's why you can't see the advantage or or have the appreciation for being single, because you don't have any boundaries. So people have you doing all of this stuff for them, or people think that because you're single they can call you at the last minute, and that's you supposed to be able to just boop, do that. And I mean, you could if you want to, but when I say that is, I could have been planning to go to movies by myself if I'm single. Maybe I planned a date night for myself, whatever it is. So that's a good one. That's a good one. Boundaries, boundaries.
No boundaries will lead to burnout.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And people who know me know that if you want me to do something, you better get on my calendar like
Let me
some
know.
weeks
Yes.
because I'm
Yes.
not that single who gonna be like, well, I had nothing to do. Like even if I plan something for my nothing to do time, I'm gonna sit here and look at this wall and enjoy it. No, I can't. Don't.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Even if you just, I'm gonna take a nap. That's your time. That's your time. Boundaries. Boundaries. Yes. You're not gonna be calling me out times of the night. Now I'm single. You in a toxic relationship, and you want to call me all night? No, 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 no.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
so let's move to the
So
C.
it's the C's. Okay. Okay.
Comfortable.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Be comfortable in your singleness. That's good. I think that's good because we were talking in the beginning, I was thinking about a lot of times you hear some people when they're single saying, I can't wait until. I can't wait until this. I can't wait until that. I can't wait until I meet my wife. I can't wait until I meet my husband. I can't wait till I meet the man of my dreams. I can't wait. I can't wait for this, that, or the other. But when we're comfortable where we are, then it's not a sense of that uncomfortability like this is not good enough. I need to move on to something else. And I think that in a comfortable sense of not complacency, but
Mhm.
comfortable meaning I'm good because I know why I'm planted here right now. I know what season I'm in, and I'm comfortable in this position
Right.
where I am at now until until the next thing unfolds, or until God has purpose for the next thing to happen for me. Till the next stage opens up.
Yeah, I have a quirky sense of humor. So when people say I'm waiting for the man or woman of my dreams, I'm like nightmare dreams too.
Oh.
Bad there that you
Wow.
are correct, because they are under the category of bad dreams. Oh
Yes.
wow.
So
Yeah.
it's like
Wow. Wow.
having that comfortable because you have to be comfortable in your own skin because otherwise
Mhm.
you're open to they
Mm.
become a dictator for your life and if you're
Yes.
comfortable it's like okay you end up your life doesn't look like your own anymore it looks like all these other people but if you're comfortable being comfortable comes with this okay I don't want to do that I'm not going to do
I'm
that or
not
this
gonna
is
do it. Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
going to do and I'm comfortable with telling because one of the most things I've had to become comfortable with was saying no and no is a
Mhm.
word. But I also learned too, I can say I'm not saying no, but not now. So
Exactly.
learning to voice that, but being comfortable gives me that space to voice that and know that hey, it's okay if somebody get mad with you, but you still have to be comfortable
Be
and move
comfortable.
forward
Mhm.
with what you know what's best for your life.
Mhm.
Right.
Absolutely. Also, being comfortable in the decisions that you make. Being comfortable with with the decision and the choices that you make. Like you said, in this time and in this season, even for yourself, you're like, You're comfortable because you're obtaining your doctorate degree now, and you're comfortable in the fact that this is what because in my singleness, this is where I've chosen to be in my life, and I'm comfortable right here,
Yeah.
right now, and where where what I want to say where you chose to be, because that's where God intends for you to be, because He's doing things for you and to you and through you. But I'm comfortable in my season. I'm comfortable in this place, and that comfortable say, I think we have to in your singleness, you have to get comfortable with a lot of things. You have to get comfortable with saying no.
Mm.
You have to get comfortable with people not being happy with you saying no, because we were talking about it a few minutes ago. People think that you're single, you got all the time in the world. You should be able to go pick up my dry cleaning. You should be able to watch your niece and your nephew, and I can if I choose to. But being comfortable, and also being comfortable in your yes. The things that I say yes to, girl, you gonna do that? You gonna keep, girl, you should be trying to get married and have a husband. You gonna go to school again?
Mm.
Be comfortable in the decisions that you're making and be comfortable in the things that you're doing in your life.
Yeah.
And I mean, also you can do things that bring you comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing when we're talking about comfort is being comfortable with constructive criticism,
Oh,
form of
yeah.
growth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not saying like if there's some
Negativity.
different types of criticism. Some of them are destructive, but if someone is giving you some constructive criticism,
Yeah.
my approach is a good country saying: you eat the fish and you spit out the bone. But you do
Mm.
that, but being comfortable with receiving criticism, I think
Yeah.
goes a long way.
That's
Oh
good.
yeah, that's good.
That's
That's
good.
good.
And I want to give you the definition of comfortable
Okay, okay,
before.
because I got another
So
C word.
is
So come on.
affording or enjoying contentment and security.
So being secure in your singleness.
Yes.
Yes.
See, and be and being comfortable means
That's a bonus, a S.
exactly you're so the C that I have would be confidence.
Mm.
Mm.
Confidence. And I think it's important in your singleness, anyone who finds themselves in singleness, if you are currently single, be confident, walk in confidence. You said something that I thought about, and I almost wanted to jump in because I'm gonna say that I believe I've done very well in this part as a married person. I never, ever, ever talk to people like, you how old and you ain't married? Oh, girl, you need to be trying to get married and have kids.
Yeah.
I don't do that, and I don't do that because of what I said in the beginning. I talk to people, and just generally talking to people, I feel that we have to be careful. Those of every last one of us bear responsibility for each other. I always share this in the ministry in church with people I talk to. I believe that the reason why he calls it the body of Christ is because he intended for us to do life together.
Mm.
We are on this earth together because he intended for us to do life together. And if I'm not careful, the things that I say can affect you in ways that I never thought they affect you, because I planted a seed. I planted something in the back of your mind,
Yeah.
somewhere down into your brain, that says something is wrong with you, or this is what you're supposed to do. Because when I was younger, I was a person that thought everything had an order, and it had to happen in a certain order or
Wow.
else it wasn't right.
Wow.
And yes, God is a God of order. So his order is what supersedes everything, but we don't live life in an order. And when I say that, I mean, okay, step one, step two, step three. So that goes back to what I said. And so what someone else says to me, no, that's your cross to bear, not mine, because you think I should be married by now. That's your cross to bear.
Mm.
That's not mine. Because if that's how your life went, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm having confidence in where I am and who I am. And I think that's important because it also stops, it prohibits the single from making mistakes when they are entering relationships.
And the beautiful part is that when you carry that confidence, I think one of the most powerful things is that you realize that you have a choice.
Mhm.
Uh, those slimy old men who come try to pick you up. Why you still single, girl? And I always because I choose to be single. Singleness is a choice for me. Like I'm not in
There's
prison.
another C, girl. Choice.
Choice.
I could have been married. Now it would have been a hellacious marriage, but I could have been married, but I chose to remain unmarried. And I think that's a narrative that we don't hear enough is that
Hmm.
to remain single until I choose to be married. And it's like just point and simple. But when you carry that confidence, you realize that I do have a choice on whether I'm married or unmarried. Like just because
Right.
somebody approach you doesn't mean that I like people approach you doesn't mean that you have to enter into their relationship. And when you have that confidence, you're willing to you can own up to I have a choice in my marital state. I don't, and because I'm not married, that doesn't take away anything from me. I'm still a whole person.
Hmm.
I'm no less than my married counterpart, but I have that confidence to stand where I am. And it goes back to it's beautiful when you can stand in that and that you can
Yes.
carry that confidence. Just the one final one, which this is an important one, you have to be committed. committed to your time as the time that you have for singleness, committed to your growth, committed to you. And I know for some watching this, it's like they're talking about self a lot. You know, we're not saying be selfish, but I think one of the drawbacks is that we tend to give so much that we tend not to focus on ourselves. I mean, we can lesson from the airplane. What they tell you before you can save anybody else, you have to put on your oxygen mask first before you can put on anyone else's
Absolutely.
oxygen mask.
Absolutely.
So when you're committed to your growth, when you're committed to your happiness and your development, I think that's the foundation to taking advantage and making your singleness beautiful and enjoying it and not being bitter. But you have to be committed to it. It's not something, it's not a 12-day step program. It's a continual process.
Right.
Right. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Jamila, we want to thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to every fourth Tuesday with you on
Absolutely.
Living Single. We're
Absolutely.
excited about the awesomeness that we're going to be bringing to our singles that are listening, and to all of our Marriage Coach podcast listeners. We want to thank you for joining us today. Wherever you are listening or watching, we want to invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. We want
Yes.
to encourage you to click the like button and turn on that notifications so that you will be notified every week when we upload a podcast. Click your notification button so that you don't miss an episode of the Marriage Coach podcast.
Yes.
And if you're listening on iTunes, we want to invite you to rate the podcast. That helps us get the word out. So we want you to like the podcast, rate the podcast, and leave a review to help spread the word. We also want to invite you to head on over to our leadership podcast, Lead to Greatness. And we invite you to share that one with others as well.
Thank you once again for joining us on today. Looking forward to hanging out with you again on next week as we continue to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving. Bye. See you next week.